What up, everyone? It's your boy Jester James coming at you with another YouTube video. Today in the Jester's Castle, I'm going to be talking to y'all about the Elastic Stack and also SIEMs or SIEMs, as a lot of folks like myself call them. So, disclaimer, I'm going to say SIEM. People are going to hate me for that, but I was taught SIEM, not SIM. So, today I'm going to talk to y'all about SIEMs and basically how they fit into a security operations center or a SOC and why they're such a critical component in the cybersecurity industry. Right off the bat, what is a SIEM or a SIEM? And basically, a SIEM or SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management. And a SIEM is basically security software that gathers log security data from diverse sources. So you can have a bunch of different data coming in from various different systems, mostly like logs. So to me, I'm thinking like Windows event logs. You could have Sysmon logs. You can have all different types of data coming in to get ingested into this software or tool that basically takes all of these events and data to a SIEM tool to analyze, and for analysts like SOC analysts to analyze and report on that data to monitor all of the enterprise networks and systems in real time, correlating events and generating alerts for anything that could be happening in the network or the environment. And basically why a SIEM is so important is because, one, it gives you visibility in near real time. Two, it gives you data consolidation. And three, it gives you correlation of events. And four, automated security event alerts. So the SIEM allows you to visualize and have a visual view and a dashboard for all the data that's coming into your environment. You can manage all that data, and you can basically query it and search for what's going on in the environment to see what exactly is going on and what the attackers are doing, the threat actors, or to see what, basically get a inside look at what's going on in your network. In order for an organization to reach security maturity, it's critical that they have a tool like a SIEM that allows them to monitor their systems and report suspicious activities or any activity that they think is malicious or anomalous that they want to go and take a look at. It allows you to detect incidents, you comply with regulations. It helps a lot in incident management, especially in an incident response. And it's very important for a successful SIEM implementation to have proper scope, requirements. You want to have some correlation rules, and basically a SIEM is a very critical tool in a SOC analyst's tool belt, and basically any cybersecurity expert's tool belt, to be able to go and leverage it to see that visibility into the environment. And basically, the SIEM is a critical tool that you can go and leverage to go and hunt down evil in your environment. So when you have an attacker in your environment, you can go and look at the logs that the attackers are generating in the SIEM to go and track them down, trace them down, and see what's going on there. But today I wanted to highlight SIEM or SIEM that I use the most. You can tell I'm fighting to say SIEM as opposed to SIEM because I don't want to get haters. But the tool that I personally leveraged and used is the ELK stack, or Elastic Stack as it's called now. What that looks like, and basically the Elastic Stack has multiple components to it. You have your beats that you're going to install on your endpoints to ship your logs or your data to Logstash, which is the L in the ELK stack. And then Logstash is going to take that data and then send it to Elasticsearch, which is going to basically take that data and make it queryable. So you can then go and use Cabana, which is the K in the ELK stack, ELK. Cabana gives you the GUI that allows you to go and actually run searches in the logs, to go and search for IP addresses, search for hosts, or any different kind of queries that you want to make. Elasticsearch makes that possible, and Cabana makes it all visible for you. So let's just go deep dive into it. I'm going to be detailing how to install the Elastic Stack or ELK stack on CentOS 8. I have not used CentOS 8 frequently, which is exactly why I'm doing it here. We got to keep on updating our skills. So today we're going to go and use CentOS 8, but there's definitely plenty of guides out there that will allow you to go and figure your way around. Today I'm going to talk to y'all about installing the Elastic Stack on CentOS 8. Alright, so now you should be able to see me in your bottom right corner. Howdy, howdy. So here I have a pre-installed CentOS 8 box, and let's log in. So basically some prerequisites you want to have for installing the Elastic Stack is you want to have Java already installed. So for this system, I've already got Java 8 installed. After you have the prerequisites installed, like Java, you want to add the Elasticsearch PGP key. So basically sudo rpm -- import https. There we go. So that's going to validate the Elasticsearch software when we download it. So next we have to add the repository as well. So we're going to go repos.d. Just out of curiosity. So you see on a brand new install of the CentOS 8, you've got some of the base CentOS repos. So we're gonna hit up the Elasticsearch .repo. You can use any text editor. I'm just gonna use Vim. So a lot of folks, so you can Google this and paste it in. I'm just gonna type it for the sake of making sure I don't fat finger something in the future. Base URL. So I'm gonna so the X basically allows you to go leverage that vnum check equals 1. So that's basically setting that GPG check variable to 1. So 1 being yes, you want to check it, and 0 being no. We're setting it to 1 because we want to check it. Also, let me move the mic away from the keyboard while I type stuff. I don't know if that even made a difference, but we will live and learn for the next video. So you can see we're adding some variables here. Some of these are CentOS specific, so like the rpm-md, for example. So that's that. I don't think I fat fingered anything. So now, CentOS, move the mic back. So in CentOS 8, they changed the package to leveraging DNF. So that's something new that CentOS 7 did not have. So DNF is just dandified yum, and it's the next generation version of the Yellow Dog updater, which I assume the Yellow Dog updater is just yum. Yeah, yum. So DNF is dandified yum, so it's basically just next level yum, which is cool. So I'm going to run dnf update, sudo dnf update. There we go. So we got that Elastic repository getting installed, so that's a good sign. I'm going to hit yes. So this is going to install everything from the Elastic repo for us. And this specific repository grants access to the whole ELK stack. So you can see it's running some packages and such that are required, and a lot of these packages are getting installed simply because of the fact that this is just a new CentOS system that I just spun up for this. So we're going to let that run. Alright, so after all that, the repo's been installed. We've got our repositories and everything that we need for the entire ELK stack. So next we're going to go sudo dnf install. Guess what? Elasticsearch. If I can type. So again, Elasticsearch, that's just the first, that's the E in the ELK stack. Here we go. So that's going to run in a similar style. It's just going to install all the things it needs, and it's going to go at its own rate and everything. We will see. Yeah, so the install, you know, this is a classic install process, having to wait for the things to install. So I'll probably cut these portions out. All right, here we go. So basically, during the install, it asks you, do you want to install? Yes or no? Obviously, you're going to want to say yes. And it'll install all the packages you need. Very straightforward, pretty simple. Again, just to preface, the ELK stack is usually installed on more than one host. So for this sake of this tutorial, I'm installing it all on one host, on one node. So basically, for the sake of like a home lab or a home network, if you have a PC, you can install the ELK stack in a VM and go and do some hunting on your own PC and network. And it's a really good way to get hands-on experience and be able to go and reference the fact that you're going and using a SIEM tool for the sake of learning. And if you want to go and become a SOC analyst, you'll definitely be in good shape. So here, now that it's installed, I actually didn't even have to cut it, so that's cool. So I'm going to go to the config file for Elasticsearch, and so for the folks that aren't really too privy with Linux, so Linux, the etc directory is location for all your software packages and configs. So here, if I do an ls, that's to list everything in the directory or folder. You can see all the different things here. If we go to Elasticsearch, there's Elasticsearch right there. Or you might not be able to go into the directory, but do sudo vim etc Elasticsearch. YML. You can go in there. So this is a config file. We're going to go down to the section labeled network. I'm not going to change any of these variables or anything in here, simply because of the fact that this is a home lab install, not like an enterprise install. We're going to go down to network. So here what you're going to want to do in network.host, you're going to want to change this to 192.168, or no, you want to change that to localhost. And basically what that means is that this local VM is going to be the host, and uncommon out HTTP port 9200 Q. And now if we should reboot, we should be able to use the systemctl command to start Elasticsearch with no error. All right. All right. Plop this sucker open. Elasticsearch. It's going to be thinking. It's thinking. There we go. So that's good. Next, we're going to do a status just to double check. So it's active, it's running, lit. Next, we're going to want to use that systemctl again. We're going to want to hit enable. We're going to want to type enable. And what that is going to do is it's going to run Elasticsearch on every single time you restart. So you don't have to run that systemctl start every time you reboot or something. Next, we're going to want to test it. So curl-x. I'm going to run a GET request on. So remember in that config, we changed that IP to localhost and port 9200. And the IP that was in that config was, I think it was 192.168.0.1. That's just the router address. We don't want Elasticsearch to be running on that address simply because of the fact that we're doing this in our own VM land. So there we go. We got good display showing a whole list of information about this Elasticsearch information. You know, localhost, local domain, classic. That's great. That means we got Elasticsearch installed, and it's, you know, for search, as it says. Next, we're going to want to run sudo dnf install Cabana. Is it okay to download? Yes. All right, we're back. Cabana is now installed. So next, similar to what we did with Elasticsearch, we're going to go to that config file. That's an etc Cabana, and it's just another YAML file. We're going to uncomment this because it specifies the port we want to use. I'm going to just leave the defaults. Good practice is to change your ports and such, simply because attackers, they usually know the common default ports. So always good practice to change the ports. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to leave it because this is a home lab and I'm going to blow this VM away afterwards. Now I'm going to scroll down because there's another. Here we go. So this is the URL. And what this does is this allows you to go to this URL and hit up port 9200 and you'll be able to go and access it. So I'm going to write WQ. So for Vim, escape, and then WQ is write quit. And I'm going to sudo systemctl start Cabana, and that went cleanly, so that's cool. That means we installed it correctly. Enable. It's like I tried to type Ansible with an E, when in reality I wanted to type enable. Classic. So there we go. Just to double check on that status too, just because paranoid, I want to make sure it's active, really running. We got a green light. That's awesome. Next, what is one critical thing that we still have to do, folks? Remember those ports in CentOS or any classic Linux VM? You've got your firewalls or any enterprise environments. You want to allow your ports to allow traffic through. So I'm going to use firewall -cmd -add -port. So a lot of these commands and stuff I have like memorized simply because, again, I recently graduated college, and in college I had labs that were doing all these types of things. I was familiar with Linux, able to be comfortable in the command line, and to be able to do some networking like this firewall stuff, simply because of the fact that, you know, it's just practice. The more you do this stuff, the more it becomes muscle memory. So, for example, you know, like the firewall-cmd command, used to never be able to remember this, but now it's in the back of the head. So firewall-cmd --reload. Once we're here, you should be able to load the Cabana dashboard. I'm just going to load it in the VM simply because it's localhost 5601. And here we go. Welcome to Elastic. Very cool. So now that we got Elastic up and running, that's awesome. But there's one more component we're missing. We got the E, we got the K, we forgot about the mid. We're going to get Logstash. So just like the others, you know, if you noticed, there's a lot of familiarity in these commands. That's because it's just Linux. We're just using Linux commands. So prerequisite here, as well as being familiar and comfortable with the Linux command line, which I could probably make a YouTube video about that as well, now that I think of it. Forgot install. As you can see, I'm human, and also still nervous behind the camera. Hit enter for yes. Logstash is installed, complete, lit. We're going to do those other commands that we use to start, remember? So systemctl start Logstash. Gonna run that off. There we go. That's awesome. So I cite awesome because it's not throwing an error message. So if you run systemctl start and it gives you an error message, there's an error there that you'd have to chase down. If you have an error and you can't chase it down, feel free to add it in the comments below or Google it. Status. There we go. That's cool. That's lit. So now we got the ELK stack installed on our machine. Next, how are we going to get the data into the Elastic Stack here? Remember earlier I had to mention the beats. For the sake of this example, let's install FileBeat. So FileBeat, again, is basically just a shipper. So FileBeat monitors your log files and such, and it's going to ship that data over to Logstash for you. So now that we got FileBeat installed correctly and everything like that, no errors or anything, we're going to go to FileBeat modules. I'm going to hit enable system. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to send my local system logs, so the logs that this VM is getting, and it will ship them to Logstash. So now I'm going to set it up in order to, well, hold on. I'm going to set it up. Getting ahead of myself there. Sudo FileBeat setup. And the system's going to do some work for you, and it's basically going to do it on the back end a little bit, but you're going to be able to see the command output. So it's creating an index, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of these terms when we get into Cabana and we see the logs there. So right now I basically just used FileBeat to send system logs. So there's a bunch of different type of data that you can use. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use basic system logs to go and have some data for us to go and play around with in our Elasticsearch instance, our Elastic instance here. So right now, I think it's just taking a little bit of time to run it. So FileBeat is a service. Here we go. We got our system logs. We got stuff we can look into here. Here's our index. So index, you can create new indexes based off of the type of data that you're ingesting. So this index is just the index for FileBeat. So you can go and explore galore the Elastic Stack here. Go back to Discover. So let's look at some logs. Here you go. First off, right off the bat, there you go. The ELK stack set up. You've got Elasticsearch installed. You got log stacks. You got FileBeat. You got all the different components of here. You can see how many times I had to go and edit and cut those videos. I'll be going and fixing that all up in post-production. Doing it all myself. Hooray. CopyrightGuru99.com. That's where I just got this. I just pulled this image out. So, you got your logs, you got beats, you log stash, Elasticsearch, Cabana. This is the flow of this specific single node architecture that I decided to implement for the sake of this tutorial. So we have a FileBeat as our beat here, and look at all these different fields. So picture yourself as a SOC analyst, right? You have to go through a needle in a literal, figurative needle in a haystack, but it's basically a literal needle in a haystack where you have all these different data. This is just from my one system alone. In 15 minutes, there's already 1,000 logs that just got ingested here. So here we go. Let's just take a look at them. So here's this chart. I'm going to hide that specifically because I just don't want to see that right now. All these different fields. So you have your timestamps here. So here we have, domain name, host name. Again, this is a brand new clean install of CentOS 8. I have not changed anything here, but you can see all these different identifiers. Red Hat, CentOS. You got the OS name of the box. It can be Windows. It could be IBM AS400. Like the path for the log. So this is in var log. So because this is a syslog, so system logs. So you got host names, right? What type? You got agent is the FileBeat, domain, bunch of different identifiers, and you can query it based off of it. Let's install PacketBeat as well. So for the sake of that install of the PacketBeat is the network data. So I'm going to install that here. I'm going to just run the same things here as FileBeat. Here we go. And this time, I will make sure to start it before trigger happily going into the dashboard. There we go. And such. There we go. So now, actually, if I refresh, I should be able to see a different index for PacketBeat. There we go. Let's run those pings again, simply because, okay, I guess Windows is not going to remember a command history. What's that IP address to ping? 192.168, because that's the standard home private IP stuff. 61.133. Also, This is the VM stuff, so OPSEC obviously, but again, I'm nuking all of this stuff, so not too concerned about that. For there, let's do it again. Do it again, because I really want it to get shown here. Let's change that to, yeah. So you see those, I'm pretty sure that's a spike. So here we go, 72, 72, 72, 68, 68. So let us check this out, right? So the packet beat, as you can tell, there's different fields now as well. So the IP is clear here. You have client IP and you have the destination IP. So that's 61.133. IIRC, that's us. Yeah. And that's the ICMP packet, 61.1. So because of the way that this is set up, because it's a virtual machine, my local machine is going to be 61.1 because it's navigating. The way the network is set up is that I've natted it. So that's just, obviously, when you're a SOC analyst, you have to have some prerequisite knowledge going into your network as well. But if you don't, that's completely fine. Again, that's what Google is for. So if you don't know something, you Google it. But I know, because I sent those ping packets, I know that pinging, or like the command, right? Ping, that is a ICMP packet. ICMP the protocol is ICMP for pinging. So so here's the cool thing, right? The Elastic allows you to get visibility into your network. All right, so I guess the ICMP packets are out of the time frame. So let me set this to the day instead, or the hour. So as you can see, so TCP, that's a classic protocol. You know, it's a standard protocol in networking. ICMP should show up now. There we go. So that's 19 hits. So I know how many times I hit that CMD. So that makes sense. Those are literally all the ping packets that I sent. So you can see that here. And you can see the time too, 1428 in comparison to 31. So that's why it wasn't showing up. It was just because of the time frame. The whole point of this video was to show you all how to install the Elastic Stack in a single node environment, very much similar to something that you might have as a student. You know, like you can install it on your laptop. You can do basically there's just a lab exercise for like a couple hours to go and do and get familiar with Elastic Stack as a SIEM, and basically to be familiar with SIEMs or SIEMs in general. So now you have that knowledge about how to set up an Elastic Stack and to go look around and now you have all these different fields, right? So, you know, it's critical to go be able to learn classic networking things. So like, what are these protocols? Like ICMP is for pinging, TCP, what about UDP, or what are the different kinds of protocols? Like there's a lot of fundamental computer knowledge that you need to know, especially computer networking. And that's just because that's how the SIEM works. You know, it's part of the network. It goes and takes that network data. So it takes those raw logs and makes them queryable, just like the way I just did for the ICMP packets. But yeah, you know, the idea here wasn't to go from 0 to hero. It was 0 to something. So now you're somewhere. Now you're right on the journey to going and doing some fun stuff with SIEMs. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to go put this out there because this was a prime way for me to be able to prime up my skills in understanding what goes on in an environment, in a network, and to be able to see what's normal and what's abnormal, or what to expect when I am in a SOC or I have to go and look at some alerts because I'm doing like an incident response or something like that. But here we are. Here's this very rudimentary, very bare bones basic video about how to set up the Elastic Stack. And if you're in high school, go ahead, spin this up if you can on your laptop, because if you're in high school and you have a little bit of experience just setting up an Elastic Stack like this, and you put that on your resume or something, that's going to get you far. And even if you're able to talk about it similar to the way that I'm just talking with y'all right now on this video, it's wonderful to be able to go and be a junior or senior or wherever, however age y'all are, whatever, to be able to go and do this. Or you don't even have to be that, like, you know, I don't want to be ageist. You can be any age, whatever. This is just a wonderful way for y'all to get some experience, especially new folks, to becoming a SOC analyst, or being able to go and look at SIEMs, and being able to go and look at logs, and using the Elastic Stack as a wonderful tool to go and do some network investigations and threat hunting and things along those lines. So that's it for this video. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Have a good one, and bye-bye. So there we go. That's it for this video. Again, very bare bones, very basic, but this is a critical way to go and learn and get some experience yourself without having to go and get a job or anything like that. Like, you can literally do this at home on your local machines and stuff like that to really get your feet wet on investigating logs and doing some threat hunting. And you know, it's a wonderful way to get started in the industry and check things out to see how you like it. So thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, you know, you hit like, all the YouTuber things. Hit like, subscribe, all that. I really hope you got something out of this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.